Countdown's over. Are you nervous?
Uh-oh. Oh, no, maybe a little bit, but it's good to be nervous, right? That's what they
A
say. It means you
little bit.
care.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. You were just telling me who all you know within the community because I've been going
Yeah.
around and snatching up people that who do you know and then who you know. So like I'm slowly
Who?
getting a picture of this giant network and like who's connected to who. So it looks like this giant, almost like a family tree. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And
And I saw you
it's been
interview.
pretty
You're
interesting.
interviewing Vince. You're interviewing Vince right now, or his is coming out tomorrow or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah,
Vince and
yeah.
I, we go way back. Not way back, but we go back enough to COVID times, which is way
Oh,
back
okay.
now.
I
That's
mean,
a
it's
whole
it's
other
a half
world.
it's a half decade. I mean, you can say back in the day or
Back in the
back last week.
day. Yeah.
Back in the day,
I
we
used
didn't
to
have
walk
toilet
uphill
paper.
both ways to school.
Back in my day, we didn't have toilet paper. We used poison oak.
The good stuff,
Um,
man. Well,
all right. Well, thanks for coming on. What I watched actually to get a little feel for what you do was your most recent one, Ground Rules for Living with Your Ex. And then
yeah.
I watched that one. Joe actually directed that one, and but you also it was like a series or something like that
Yeah,
beforehand. I
yeah.
never found that, but what happened there?
Well, no, it was a series that we did in 2017, like literally a day or the week before I moved to New York. We did it because I got into an acting conservatory up in New York. So Joe and I, we actually do go way back. He was friends with my younger brother. They met at Cincinnati State, and Joe and I just sort of hit it off. And we would
Hmm.
do little sketches here and there. And the ground rules, though, my old writing partner, Adam Rafford, he was sort of living with his ex at the time, and we were just like spitballing, going like, "Hey, this wouldn't be a bad idea." And then I pitched it to Joe. If I remember properly, if you ever talk to Joe, he might tell a different story. But we pitched
Turns
it
out
to
you're
Joe.
just lying through the whole podcast.
Yes, lying. That's Jared. Don't trust anything Jared says, is what Joe will say, and I'll say possibly, but isn't that a lie
He
of
went to
itself?
Jared. Well, I went to Jared, and I shouldn't have gone.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, like we made it. It was a comedy. Sydney was in it. Sydney Vollmer. I don't think Vollmer's her last name right now because she got married, but she
Mm.
was in the original one. She played Abby's character, and it was more of a sitcom type of like thing. Like like when the ground rules short that we did, it was more condensed into a short, and it was more melodramatic because Joe wanted to try with a different feel, and that the idea was for us to submit that to festivals, which we did, and we were hoping it would do well. It didn't do as well as we wanted it to, but it did all right, and we were going to try to I wrote a feature version of it, so we were going to use that
Hmm.
as a feature, but then we decided to go another way because it didn't do well in festivals, and like Joe had another idea for a feature that he's winding up doing now.
I see. Okay, so was there any seriousness that you might end up doing the feature, or is it just solely because of the lack of reception that sounds like at festivals that you decided to go in a different direction?
I mean, it's always on the table because we both love the idea, I feel like. And I have the script written, and it could happen one day. Hopefully it does. I wouldn't mind it happening if we made it and everything. But like, I think he wanted to make something that was like that he wrote as a feature first, which I respect. And like, yeah, like he's doing vignettes for like a feature. So he's like basically shooting shorts that all tie in together so he can like just make them into like a feature
Ah,
about like
okay, that's
a band,
interesting.
like local indie music back when he was a teenager, like in the early 2000s or whatever it was.
Sounds like kind of like a narrative documentary. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting.
I no, it's like it's weird. It's like it's fictional, but it's based off his life. Like, so like these
Oh,
people are
okay.
all like in their early like late teens, I think, early 20s, and they're all like basically I read the script. It's a decent script. It's good. I shouldn't say decent. That's mean. But basically
Heaven
like
forbid anything other than amazing be permitted.
I know, right? I mean, it is Joe. So me reading it, I'm probably really hard on it. So it's probably way better than like what I said it was. And like he sort of
Yeah,
wants me to
maybe.
be like tough on it. So I am usually tough on his stuff, like,
Right.
and after reading, like I read for like screenplay festivals. So like I sort of like that's how I read every script I get now, which is sort of bad, even as an actor, because like I'm analyzing everything, like, oh, this is the proper format, like, like stuff like that. Even if they wrote in
Hmm.
final draft, doesn't mean it's always in the proper format.
Right, right, right. Well, so you've done some writing and you've done a lot of acting. I'm curious, which happened first?
Well, that I've always wanted to act, and growing up, like I went to a private Catholic school, and I had a speech impediment. The lady that taught me, like to help me with my speech, was actually like Irish, and little did I know, she said she went to school with Robin Williams, and that turns out she went to Juilliard because that's where Robin Williams went to school in New York
Huh.
was Juilliard. So years later, after I auditioned for Juilliard and didn't get in, she could probably helped me a little bit, but I don't know where she is, but I wish I did because I I owe her a lot because like she helped me get out of my shell. I've always sort of been like the class clown guy, and
Mhm.
I decided to go for sports management in my undergrad, and I was taking like business classes that were required, like the sports management classes, all these math classes, and I was like, I hate this. I suck, like like that. And I had to take some electives, so I took a screenwriting class and an acting class, and I just got the bug and I was just like, this is what I should be doing right now. I love this. My friend and I wrote a really killer screenplay. Looking back at it, it's probably not as killer as we thought it was, but like, I can go back years later and like
Acting or writing?
writing.
The
But in the acting
Okay.
class, I fell in love with it because like I was like, this again, this is what I should be doing. Like, laying on the floor and like listening to Adele, like chasing pavements and like, just doing scenes and having fun and entertaining people because that's what I enjoy doing, making people feel like an emotion, usually laughter, because I feel like that's just who I am as a person. And if
Mhm.
you like to me, and like if you don't laugh at me, it's like I don't become subconscious so much, or self-conscious, not subconscious. But it's like I get more in my head, I guess you would say, if you're not laughing at my
Okay.
jokes, and I try to find like maybe it's the people pleaser in me. But so I
Yeah.
did my undergrad. I switched to communication because I was sucking at sports management, and I did communications with film production. I almost went to Full Sail, but I decided to stay at my school, Flagler College in St. Augustine, Florida. Shout out to them. And I graduated, and I couldn't find a job. And I was like, now what do I do with my life? And I was watching The Office, and I'm a huge Steve Carell fan. He's like one of my
Mhm.
acting idols, him and Paul Rudd and like Ryan Reynolds. And basically, I was like, he went to Second City. What's Second City? So I looked it up and I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to go to Second City. I want to move to Chicago. And they're like, go for it. Follow your dreams because it's better you follow them and not like regret it. Like, so I did it
Yeah.
and I've been doing it ever since. When I was in Chicago, I did IO, I did sketch and improv at Second City along with acting. I got into the DePaul production program and switched over to screenwriting, got my MFA in screenwriting, moved out to LA, hated LA, came back, did a bunch of grad school auditions for acting, like for like 2 years in a row. Didn't get
Mm.
in any of them. Like there was one room that you walk in and there's 25 schools at once that you audition for. And it's very
Mm.
humbling to get rejected all at once by 25
All at
different.
once, like nobody. It's like, nah, we're
Nobody
good.
loves you. But it's also like sort of meant for you to fail because it's like you get 2 minutes and they want you to do a classical Shakespeare monologue and a contemporary monologue in 2 minutes. So like you're talking like this real fast, like it's not even acting. They sort of just base it off your look. So
Mm,
yeah, and
I
then like
see.
Juilliard, I
Well,
remember
that's
doing my
interesting.
Juilliard audition. The lady like literally crossed my name like that, like with a massive stroke, and I was just like, could have waited till I walked out of the room, but like yeah. But I mean, like I
Yeah.
did learn stuff. I learned like there was one guy like when I was auditioning for Brown that was like he gave a really good speech. He said like acting, it's like a marathon, as everyone always says. He goes, you need three things as an actor. He goes, you need talent, persistence, and luck. And he goes, the thing is, like, he goes, having all three at once rarely happens because he goes, you can always have the talent, but if like you're not persistent and you just rely on luck, you're going to fade away. If you're persistent and
Mm.
not talented and you have persistence and luck again will fade away and you'll just die. But he goes, if you're talented and persistent, luck will always find its way back around to you. So you'll just keep getting like,
You got to work hard for your luck.
yeah, basically, and that's
Yeah.
what I learned from that. I'm like, I'm not giving up, and here I am today as a working actor and writer, and I'm happy. I'm living the dream.
Sweet. Well, being more primarily comedic person, have you found difficulty adapting to more dramatic roles?
No, not really, because I feel like they go hand in hand. Like it's
Really, why is that?
like yeah, because comedy, like I feel like it's harder for a dramatic actor to do comedy than it is for a comedic actor to do drama, because there's always a little bit of drama within comedy. Mel Brooks says a tragedy is when you like cut your finger. Comedy is when you slip downstairs. Like that's like the saying. I might have misquoted him a little bit, but like Mel Brooks has a saying like that. But
We get the
basically, you got
idea.
to be able to find. Yeah, yeah, you got to find the comedy and the drama, or the drama and the comedy, vice versa. And I feel like it's just being yourself. Either way, you do it.
Is there a role that sticks out in your mind where they really did go hand in hand in terms of how the performance was written?
For me, I would say probably like out of the ones I've done like there was like I did a play once, or like not a play, like a scene in an acting class, and they were hand in hand. And I'm blanking on where it was from, but then I also did a scene of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern must die in an acting course with my friend Jason, and it was very dramatic but comedic at the same time. So we found a
Okay.
way to like incorporate both, and it works out. And like I feel like in ground rules, it's both. It's a dramedy. Like if you watch like all comedies nowadays, I hate to say, are dramedies. Like The Bear, it's not a comedy, but yet it's always nominated for these Emmys. Like like for best comedy,
Right.
I'm like, but it's not funny. It's more of a drama, but the actors want it because it's easier to get than like some of the drama roles that they expect you when you go for the Emmys. And comedy, it's like, oh, I feel like a straight up comedy like Big Bang Theory, they're not out there anymore.
Right,
So
right, right. I mean, sitcoms have kind of gone, they've gone down in terms of, I don't know, popularity or just like desire to produce, because I think it's more in today's day and age, we're afraid of either getting canceled or stepping on someone's toes, but that's the thing that you have to risk in comedy, you know?
yeah,
Um, and I think it's pretty tragic, but I don't, I don't know. It's like The Office is one of the most replayed shows I think in history. Yet it at some point in the show it offends every single group you can possibly think
yeah,
of,
but
and
yeah,
everyone
it
loves it.
does. But at the same time, it does it with like class is the wrong word, but there's a class to it, and people know it's like they're in on the game. They're like, we're here getting offended, but it's not in a bad way. It's to shine a light on something that you're not supposed to do. But I also
Mm,
like South Park does a great job doing that. They shine a light on like we're satiring this, like like this
yeah.
is supposed to be a joke, but yet hey, learn from this because this could be the future. Like that's what a
Yep.
good
Yeah.
satire does, or like a good comedy does. But like Big Bang, for example, which I enjoyed. I watched it all. Like you watch some of that stuff, and they do some of these more crass jokes, and they don't age well because they are not poking fun at the thing, trying to get you to learn. They're just poking fun to be mean. I think
Yeah.
that's the difference.
I haven't watched a lot of Big Bang Theory. I've seen some of it. My brother was actually really into it. He binge watched that show, so maybe I need to give that one a try and compare it to The Office. But um,
You should. I mean, you
as a
can't really
writer,
compare the two because they're so different.
they
Like,
they are they're very very different. I really like the premise of Big Bang Theory personally.
mhm.
It's about nerds, and like I
Yeah,
think a lot of nerds like that show. Like they're not one of the problems I think it had trouble translating to a wider audience was the nuances of nerd jokes. They really had to kind of stretch the dialogue a little bit in order to both explain it as well as get you into the joke without
yeah.
losing the appearance of the nerds. And I think that's kind of where it struggled a little bit.
I
But
agree with you, but that's also where the character Sheldon, like Jim Parsons playing Sheldon, is probably one of the best comedic performances you see because he did such a good job. He has like these giant monologues of like scientific like jargon, and he nails them
mm,
every time, and they're funny. So it's like I feel like he. I don't know. My mind just went blank right there, but I feel like he does a great
it's that
job.
blue wall
Like
behind you, man.
it is. It is. It's this blue wall behind me. It's trying to make my eyes pop, like stuff like that. But no,
Mhm.
he kills it, and like I don't think anybody else could have played that role. Like people compare me to Sheldon sometimes because I guess I have Sheldon-esque tendencies in my
Are you just
everyday
autistic
life.
all the time?
No, I'm not. I'm not. But people just compare me to him. like, like my parents do. I have friends that do. They're like, okay, Sheldon, when I say something, I'm like, guys, damn it. All right. Like that. But
I didn't even go to college for physics.
yeah, trust me, if I did, I would be, I don't know if I would be rich, but yeah, it'd be, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
here.
generally they don't get paid the much. They don't get paid a lot. If you're a physicist or a scientist of any regard, or even an engineer, you're just like you're making slightly better than average at best.
I'm,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
you're
want to
not
hear a
making
little bit
any.
more about your writing process because I myself am also a
Mhm.
writer because I want to pick your brain a little bit for that.
All right.
To start, when what are there any commonalities when it comes to getting that idea that you want to pursue in terms of how you want to put it onto paper that you think pops up more often than not? Like, where does the eureka happen the most?
That's I say my eureka happens the most like when I'm on walks. Like we have a park outside and like with a paved path and I'll just put headphones on and I'll walk and like ideas will just sort of come to me at times. And like there's times when I get an idea and years later I'll write it. And like with ease when if I try to write in that moment, I can't do it for some reason. I
Mm,
don't know if it's about living my life and life experience or just that moment or whatever. But like ideas to me, they just come and they ebb and flow in me. I've been told I write really quick. Like I'm working on a short right now with a friend, and it involves like a time loop and everything. And I feel like we're going real slow with it, like because we're talking about
mm,
all these loops. But like as we're writing, my friend's like, "Do you always write this quick, man?" And I'm like, "What? This isn't quick. This is slow. I don't know what you're talking about." So like I guess I just tend when I get the idea, I just go and I just type. And like if I get a roadblock, I do what I call sort of like nap slash meditate. I like put a cover on my head and like just think of the problem over and over and over again in my head, and I might like doze
yeah.
off like into like a meditative like nirvana like state. And I just it's almost like I throw it's like darts, like words and ideas pop up as weird as that says, and I can sounds and I can like pull them down and like it just I wake up and it's there and I can just go.
How do you get yourself into the flow state?
The flow state, I think partly is like doing that meditation nap thing, going on walks, or just like I write every day. I haven't been doing it lately because I've been like doing auditions and I'm
Mm,
working on this short with my friends, so it's like stuff like that. But I try to write every day for at least an hour or more a day. Like, I try
mm.
to do like 3 hours a day. Like if I can, I force myself to write because I'm like, it's my job. So I'm like, this is what I do. I should do this, like that in acting. If I'm not on set somewhere, I should be writing, like bettering myself, bettering my career. If I'm not doing research for acting or for like trying to business my career up, I should be writing. I should be correcting a script. I should be reading a script, something like that. So I just go in the flow by just sitting down and type like writing. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes because like it loosens up the brain. Sometimes a Jolly
Hmm.
Rancher helps as well, like getting
Has
that
that ever
little
like
like,
distracted you when you're working on a performance that you got an audition for? Because like the writer's brain, it's always going whether we like it or not. The subconscious is still churning out things. Have you ever had to just like put a stop on it or put a lid on it in order to actually focus on a performance?
yeah, all the time. But that's also like the improv brain. Like I gotta trust that the person who wrote this script knew what they're doing. Even if I'm like, that's not how I feel like Jared as the character would say it. They wrote it, so I'm like, let's try it. Look, the writer tells me like, look, go ahead and say what you like, say what you want, get the meaning across. I still try to say what they wrote, but I might add words into it and everything because it's my performance.
Hmm.
But I also sometimes feel like if it's that bad, I might take it upon myself to do it, like like that. But I usually don't try to do that. I usually just try to let like wait till the director or like the writer themselves come up to me and say like, "Look, just change it up. It's fine." Or I do a take with their lines and I try to like change it up. Even during auditions and stuff like that, I add like things to some of the words to try to make it more natural to myself.
Can you sense when a bit of input from your end and collaboration is welcomed by the director?
Oh yeah, yeah, I can because like sometimes they're like, "That's awesome, do it," and other times they're like, "Oh yeah, 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 that's great, do it." Like it's just their body language. I've said it before, and they're like, "Uh huh, uh huh," and you just like they're closed off, and you're just like, "You're not taking this idea, are you?" Like that's fine.
Right.
Like whatever.
You're just
I
being nice
tried.
right now. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for your time, sir. or madam, like, let's move on. But it's like,
They're like, we're
yeah,
not
you just have
hiring
to
this
read
guy
the room.
again.
Yeah, don't hire him again. Don't work with this guy again. Okay, mental notes. But yeah, you just gotta sort of read the room, I guess, feel the vibe, or just say fuck it and do you. And the worst that can happen is they don't use your take. Like, Samuel L. Jackson says he never does what the director wants him to do sometimes if he likes his performance, because he goes, then they'll use that performance that the director
Mm,
wants. And he goes, I feel like that's not right for the character. So he'll do what he wants. I'm not on Samuel L. Jackson's level yet. One day, that's the whole plan. They
yeah.
also say like Robert Downey Jr., he wears an earwig and someone will read him his lines, but he'll just sort of do, like with Tony Stark, he sort of just did what he wanted. Neil Flynn and
Eating
Scrubs
snacks
just
on set.
basically like that. Neil Flynn and Scrubs, the janitor. If you watch the show Scrubs, one of my favorite shows. If you haven't seen it, try to find the original ones with the original
I'm more of
music
a
to
house guy personally.
it. Well, I'm pretty sure Hugh Laurie improvised as well because he's a famous like comedian overseas. But Neil Flynn,
Hmm.
in the script, it will say JD says this, and then it will say janitor, and it apparently I've seen the scripts, and it says in parentheses on some of them whatever Neil Flynn feels like saying, or whatever Neil feels like saying in this moment. So it just, I feel like sometimes you have to earn it, like earn the ability to have that like the ability to like improvise or like add stuff or like go a little bit off
You got to have it
script.
in
You
your
have to
tool
earn
belt.
it. Yeah, having your tool belt, and if you work with the people before, they probably know your style by then, and like you go for it. The worst, like again, what's worst that can happen is they don't use the take.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when a script is finished?
For me, I get to the last page and I say, "All right, draft one done. Time to go back to page one and redo this all over again." It's never really finished until unless I shoot it and then it's like edited. Like it's not finished until it's in the editing room, like the official script. And even then they might ask for reshoots or like the editor changes the story because it's a whole nother story process for the editor. So to me, it's not finished until it's out. And even then
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm I'm a perfectionist when it comes to like my writing and acting and performing and all that stuff. You might not tell because I'm very jubilant. Like I joke around a lot. I talk a lot on set. That's just my style. I'm not someone that's gonna go off by myself to act. Like at the Barrow Group, they taught us to like talk like until they say action, and then like you just sort of go into your lines, and it's more natural. It's more flowy, and that works for me. It's like almost like improv based feeling. I'm not
Mm.
someone that's gonna like beat out a sheet and be like too hurt, too love. Like I've tried that before and it gets me in my head. So that's not me. I don't like to be in my head that way. But yeah, this to me the script, even when it's like done and it's edited, I'll enjoy it. But a part of me will always be like, I could have done better as an actor, or I could have done better as a writer in that performance, like in that movie or whatever. So like at least
Mm-hmm.
with plays, I can't see myself. It's
Right.
over. It's like once it's done, all
Films
right, I can be
aren't
like,
finished; they're released.
yeah, yeah, they are releasing. You're like, just make me money now. Move on to the next project. That's all you can
Mm-hmm.
really do. You can't overthink it. Like sort of like when you audition for stuff, I get auditions and I might be like, man, I really want this role. But as soon as you audition, you're like, you can't stress over it because you have no power. You did your best in that moment, and that's all you can ask.
Right, right. When it comes to personal projects, I'm curious.
Hmm.
Not talking about like things that you're hired for. How do
Yeah.
you know that a project for you personally is worth investing your time into?
Well, a lot of my personal projects are ones that I wind up writing myself, or like Joe
Mm.
does. If you need to try to get Joe on this podcast, but Joe is also not, I don't ever see him doing a podcast because I don't think he likes to talk or be in the
Funny
interview
enough,
room.
you
He's a
said
talk.
that he did one with me. It just hasn't come out yet.
What? Spoiler. Shh, never mind.
Yeah,
Cut that
that's all
out,
right.
Joe.
I did that
No.
out. I did it actually a little while ago, but his for some reason I had some audio issues that just didn't come through my headphones, and so it wasn't on his end, it was specifically for my end. So I'm trying to work on that right now. So it's his episode's kind of on
He
the
rigged
back
it.
burner until I finish it. What?
He put a jinx on it so that way it will never come out. That sounds like a Joe thing.
It,
No,
yeah, maybe.
but no, no,
Oh,
but yeah, for me, like I work with Joe a lot, so like I feel like him and I, we have like that connection. We know what we want from each other when we're on set and everything like that. But like other people, I read the script and I'm like, it's either I like this role or if I see myself as this role, like, am I gonna do it? Like there's roles that I've read before that I'm like, I know I'm not like up like good for it. Like obviously it's not for me, and I can refer somebody else. Like I've done that before. I'm like, hey, I think I know this person, they would probably be better for this role than me. But like
Mm.
a lot of the times I try not to do that because you want to work as an actor. But if you read it and you're like not connecting with it, you can't do it. It's like you have to at least have a little bit of connection for it. Or again, if you're a hired gun and you get a lot of money, it's different. Like, you know, you just go
Right,
do your
right.
thing and give it your all in the moment, and just like that's all you can do.
How do
Try
you,
not to let
as an actor, how do you transition from being in Jared's head to the character's head?
well, that's I feel like for me, every character I play is a little bit of me, no matter what. Like there's a little bit of Jared, even if I'm like Ted Bundy. There, I have to find a way to like Jarederize Ted Bundy, like you know, like that, like or like if I'm gonna be like a romantic interest, I'm like, how would Jared do this a little bit, but like still as this character? Because like I am the character, but they're using my like body, mind, soul, whatever as a vessel. So it's difficult to say because I always feel like I just find a way to make it like as true to myself as I can, but yet not venture from the character.
Okay. What was the
If
last
that
script you said no to and why?
the last script I said no to and why um, was for it was a dad role, and it's like the kids were like in high school and one was like a murdered daughter, and I'm like, I'm not old enough to play this role yet. I like they wanted someone that was like 40 to 42, meaning they wanted someone that was probably in like in their later 40s or 50s to look like they were
Right,
40. And I'm like, I personally don't think I look like I'm in my 40s. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm like, I could do mid 30s to late 20s, like characters, maybe a 40-year-old that looks a little bit
right,
younger. But I don't have kids. So it's really hard for me to connect to like a kid dying, especially a kid that's like would be in high school. Because to me, I'm
right,
like, in my mind right now, I'm like, well, I'm 36. That means I had him when I was like 18. Because if they're, I don't know, my math might be a little off, but like it just doesn't make logical sense to me. So it's hard for me to get my mind wrapped around something like that. So I turned it down because I'm like, I'm just not like the proper look, the age.
okay. What was the last script you said yes to but ended up regretting?
Let's see. I feel like every script. No, I'm joking.
Everything Joe did.
Everything Joe does, even the ones I wrote. Damn you, Joe. No, I don't really regret anything I do. Like a part of me, there's always that negative voice that's in your head, but I always try to shut it off because otherwise it
Right.
will like ruin everything. Because to me, the worst day on set is still better than going to the office and working a normal day in the office.
Mm.
That's why I
Unless
always
you get
tell my
injured. Unless you get
yes.
injured. Then again, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll
And
know.
maybe if you got injured doing something fun, like you know, jumping from a car as it blew up, that's fun, right? I mean,
Mm.
Tom Tom Cruise
Yeah,
broke
that
his
is.
ankle. They kept that shot in Mission
Tom
Impossible,
Cruise
and
has
like
broken everything in his body at one point, I think.
Robert Downey Jr. broke his body, broke like his leg in Iron Man 3, and they kept the shot. So it's like, it's worth it. Maybe you just shut down production and ruin everybody else's livelihood. But you know, but no, yeah,
Mm.
like I don't really regret anything. I guess if I had to regret something, there was one when I way back in the day when I was in my master's, I was in someone's short and they wanted me to play some like a thug from jail, and they drew like a tear tattoo on my eye and stuff like that. And I look too friendly to be like someone in prison, I guess. Like, you know, I'm like, you really have to dirty me up and like stuff like that. And it just wasn't the best script, but I did it because it was for a friend. And
Mm.
I never saw it. It never, I know they aired it for their class. And apparently the guy said the teacher liked my country accent, which I wasn't even doing a country accent. So, so
The
maybe I
teacher
just
was from LA and just thought that the Midwest accent, that which is barely an accent at all, was country enough, you know?
right, right. Or maybe I did it underneath everything. I don't know. Like,
Mm.
I'm not good with accents. Like, I might have a little bit of a southern drawl, but like, that's about all I get sometimes.
Hmm. When you're playing a character, how, other than obviously when the director yells cut, how do you stay? in the headspace in order to keep the engine idling?
I literally just talk. I have to. It's like I said, that's what I learned from the Barrow Group. Edie Falco apparently does it as well on set. She'll like talk to the sound people, like, through her microphone, just sort of like
Mm.
about whatever, to stay in character. Like if you're chopping bread or whatever, you just continuously chop the bread, like, to just keep the flow going. So I try to do stuff like that. Like on Joe's latest Squalor, I played a dad again. He wanted me to reach, so I played a dad. I don't think I did terrible. I think I did well. I haven't seen it yet, but there was a hospital scene, and I was in it, and I just kept talking to like the people that were playing the nurses and like the girl that was playing my daughter, and like one of the people on set apparently said, they go, Jared's too he's too he talks too much or something like that. And Joe goes, that's just his style, man. Because every time Joe goes, every time I called action, you just rolled right into it like you were ready. And he goes, even when you weren't on camera, he goes, one thing Joe says I like about you is, he goes, you always give it your all. Like even if it's not your shot, you still give your performance. Like, you still give 110% every take, no matter what it is. You don't take it off like some actors do because they're not on camera. You give it your all. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. It's my
Mm.
job. So I'm like, why would I not give the other actors what they were possibly should have been giving me when it was my like shot or the wide shot or whatever. So
What was the most difficult role you've done to date?
the most difficult role I done today. Let's see. That's tough because it's like I feel like every role is sort of difficult when I first do it, like, until I'm like, oh, this is it, and I get in the flow of it. I know that's like a cop out answer, but um, other than being like just playing a dad, because I'm not a dad, but I feel like I'm hitting the dad age, so maybe I should get used to being playing dads. I feel like I, I don't know. That's tough. I don't really see me like I haven't played something that's like required me to like become something else yet, which would be fun, but like I haven't had that I'm completely aware of yet. So if I did,
Do you miss
it's just I did
primarily
it and I
playing
did
younger
well.
roles?
I mean, I play like people around my age range, I think. Like I said, like my mid 20s to my mid 30s range. So I tend to do that.
Mm.
And like I always sort of play like people that can be more serious at times or more jokey. I prefer the jokey because it's easier and I feel like it's more freeing. But I haven't done anything that I am aware of that like I had to like completely change. I mean, you can maybe ask other people that know me. They might know something like that. They might be, oh yeah, that's your hardest role. That's your best role that you've done and everything. But I've never done anything that's really required me to change. In a class, I had to kiss my best friend, one of my best friends, Tracy, which was weird, but it was required a kiss in the scene. So like, but it wasn't like difficult, but it was just like kissing your sister, like a friend, like, like that. So she cracked up in the middle of the scene when we had to do it, and I'm like, don't. It made it more natural. I didn't like get cringed out by her or anything like that because I was just like, oh, it's more natural. Maybe this is how her character reacts and everything like that. But like every character has its own challenges. I know that's like a cop out answer, but it's true.
Okay. Do you have any skills that you think that would fit in a genre of a movie that you haven't done yet?
All my skills. No. Yeah, I mean like I would love to be like a superhero. I think that would be fun. Like Booster Gold is like my dream role. I think that would be super fun to be. So something that's more action oriented, I feel like that would just be fun. It would be out, like not out of my wheelhouse, but it would be like different, I guess. And like
Hmm.
um the roles I want to be, I really think it would be fun to do something that like required me to like sort of be more of a quick talker because that's what I am normally. I feel like at times, a lot of my roles tend to be like I tell jokes, but they're like on the drier side. I just something that's more
Hmm.
like out there. Like I've been compared to Gene Wilder in some of my acting classes and stuff like that. So something maybe more like a Gene Wilder like character would be fun to play.
Okay. Um, Recalling from your specific experiences on various sets, I'm curious when you're working with a newer actor or a less experienced actor. The chemistry of the scene between you and that person is obviously very important because performances and they feed. It's a feedback loop. They feed off of one another,
Mhm.
and I've heard sometimes that it can be difficult to get into a good rhythm when it comes to giving a good performance during the middle of the scene, if that other person is slacking a little bit, however you want to interpret that. How have you seen, or how have you given advice maybe to that particular person in order to get them more comfortable so that the chemistry is there?
Well, usually for stuff like that, I try to get to know them a little bit, like outside of the scene, like as a person, get to talking so we can be more friendly with each other, more natural. Even if we hate each other, to me, I'm like, we know each other better. It'll be better that way. I never give another actor notes. I'm like, that's not my job. It's not my place. You might be doing like a different version of the character that I pictured that you're playing. Um,
Mm.
so that's up to the director to give them the notes. And as an actor, I wouldn't want another actor really giving me notes either, because it's sort of like it's frowned upon.
Right.
So to me, it's almost like if they're not giving their all in the scene, and because they're new, you could give your all still, and they can still learn from you and be like, wow, this person gave their all no matter what. So maybe I should do that from now on. And like they just learn from just by example, by proxy, and everything like that. And as for being in the scene in the moment, I feel like you still got to bring your A game no matter what and hope they rise up to it. You can't control what they do. Like from that point on, it's
Mm-hmm.
like we rehearse, we know our lines, we know our blocking. If they're like fumbling, that's fine. Like, just roll with it, because it might make the scene better. You might discover something that you didn't discover during the rehearsal, like from their fumbling and bumbling around.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Have you seen any notes that a director has given to an actor like that on set that did help him get more comfortable?
Yeah, I have, like, and it works. Like they usually like talk to him as the character, or like they go like, "Hey, are you all right?" Like I've seen some directors like, "Are you all right?" It's like you've done better these other days. Like they don't word it that way, but like they comfort them, I guess, in a way. They let them go like, "Hey, you're
Hmm.
killing it," but like, how about maybe like think of it about this way, like your character feels like this, your mom just died or something like that, and it helps them get there more. Like they don't realize they're not providing that. They might think they are, but they're not. And like as me
Okay.
as the other person, I just sort of listen to those notes, and it sometimes, like if I hear something good, I might be like, oh, maybe I can like help get that person there by poking the bear more if I'm like in a fight with them, like like that.
Hmm. Have you encountered any directors that had trouble communicating their vision, and how did you parse that out in order to get a good performance and see what they want out of you?
Yeah, I have. Like, I've been on sets where directors don't say anything. You're like, the take's over, and you're like, any notes? And they just go, no, no, just do it. Like, it's fine, it's fine. They care more about what the angle looks like, or like the lighting and all this stuff. Not
Mm.
so it's up to you as the actor to be ready and bring your own performance. And
Mm.
I've been there when directors give you notes, like say the line like this, which I'm not a fan of either. But if that's the director's style and that's what they want, I'm like,
I've
all
heard
right,
line
like,
reading is the bane of an actor's existence.
oh yeah, it is. And newer directors tend to do that because they don't realize they're doing it, I think. But I'm never going to call a director out on set for giving me a line read. Like, I don't feel like I have that much clot, nor should I do it, because it's like, then I'm not, I feel like I would be considered the bully, I guess, for like you being like, you gave me the line read. That's not how I want to do it. Like, no, get me there as like, help me get there as a director, talk me through it. So some people have, I think directing's hard. I've tried it. I'm not a fan of it because like I don't like telling people what to do on set, and I'm awful with like where the camera and lighting and all that should go. Like that's not for me. I'm good with story, and I'm good with acting, and I'm like that's about it, guys. Don't give me the camera. Don't have me do the lights. I don't want to tell people what to do. I rather just like be the guy, the face.
Mm. Yeah. Blocking is also a big part of, being an actor. Have you found any difficulty when it comes to both memorizing your lines in your head and be able to perform in terms of how you portray and the speech as well as the body movements, but also you have in tandem the physical movement of the body of where you're supposed to be in frame in relation to the camera. Is there any For people that are starting out, are there any tips you can give them in terms of how to unify those two parts of the brain?
Practice. That's all I have to say. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Like no one's going to be perfect at blocking the first time they do film, because you don't realize, oh, this has got to be blocked out. Or even on a stage show, this has got to be blocked out. Watching, you don't realize that. You just think maybe that's where they were going and they're just naturally going to go there and blah, blah, blah. But no, I just feel like the more you do it, the more comfortable you become, and the better it just becomes more natural and easier for you to do. So
Hmm.
like recently, like I think I've just now come in my own for like, oh, blocking, because I've done it more and more and more, and I feel like, okay, now it makes sense, like, more in my head. And as for like lines and blocking, sometimes it helps because like you're moving and you're saying your line, or like, and you're more focused on the movement than the line, so the line can come out more natural because you're not like
Hmm.
thinking, and it's not like all up in your head, but you're listening. You're just trying to be in the moment. It's a surreal thing when it comes together. It's hard to explain. You're just like, you just know when it clicks, and you're like, I did it. Give me a gold
What's the
star.
project that you're most proud of in terms of your own personal performance?
I would say each one I've gotten better in. Again, a cop out answer, but like ground rules, I really loved, especially the one I did with Abby. I feel like Abby got me to another level, and this was like
Hmm.
one of the first shorts I did after I did my acting conservatory and all this stuff. Chocolate Milk, which is another Joe film. Joe wrote that for me, probably because he wanted me to be taped to a chair and force feed me milk. um, so if you haven't seen that, I think you should look that one up, or like and watch it because it's fun. But
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I enjoyed that. What?
I'll check it out. Yeah.
You gotta check it out, man. It's wicked. But yeah, I mean, like, just I feel like that's another tough question, another good question. You're asking a lot of those, but I would have to say ground rules recently, because that's like my most recent one that I did by myself. And then like I have a sketch team and we perform around like the United States. So each time I get to perform with them, it's fun to like keep workshopping these sketches for the shows that we're doing and everything like that. So we can see
Mhm.
the improvements.
Mm. Um, in terms of working with other actors, um, what's the most uncomfortable role that you've had to do in a scene, or a scene and a role? I got that backwards. And how did you work with the other actors in order to actually get the scene accomplished?
My most uncomfortable one would probably be when I had to kiss my one of my best friends, Tracy, just because it was just like, you're like
We
my
love
sister.
Tracy.
Yeah, we love Tracy. Tracy, come on here sometime. You're gonna be listening to this because I'll send her the link. But but like, yeah, I just felt like it wasn't like, it was just like practicing the kiss and everything. Like it was more of the moment building up and like being like, okay, how should we do this? There's nothing like cutesy about it or anything when it comes down to it. Um, I've never had to do anything that's required like too much like touching like inappropriately anywhere, like bathing suit areas, I guess you would call it.
Mm.
But I feel like that type of stuff would be weird, but you would have to get used to it. But that's why they have the coordinators on set, and God, I'm happy they do, because it makes things easier now. Because now it's not like what is safe, what is not. Like the coordinator can help you out with that. So
Mm. Have you had to work with a coordinator before?
No, not like that type of coordinator. I've done stunts and like firearm coordinators, like type of those things before, but never like the sex coordinator, because I haven't had the reason
Oh,
to do
okay.
it yet. So,
Do you tend
or
to
it's
now that you've
infancy coordinator, I think infancy or something like that. I don't know. I called it sex.
intimacy?
Yeah, that's it. Not sex. That's the proper word.
It's the very legal word. It has a lot of
Yes.
legal ramifications. Do you primarily try to work with more experienced people now
Yeah,
in terms
I
of
really
directors?
Yeah, I mean, last weekend I was on a set with a first-time director, and it was fun. It was a friend of a friend sort of was like, "Hey, referred me for this role," and I was like, "I got nothing going on. Let's do it." And it was a fun shoot, like, and a lot of people that were on the crew are people that I worked with from like Joe's films and everything. But I prefer to be on sets like when it's like with more like I want like these people were professionals, but I guess it's like, yeah, I do like working with professionals better, especially when it comes to acting and everything, because it raises my game up and it makes like
Hmm.
it helps your career. It helps you. It helps everybody because like you're gonna rise your career up, and hopefully that can lead to better and bigger jobs down the road.
Right, right. What were the early red flags that you learned from starting out that you were able to figure out how to avoid when it came to either being approached for a project or working with a particular person?
I would say red flags would be like I would read the script and it's not that good, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Or I would ask people that I knew that have worked with these people before and just
Mm.
hear what they say through the grapevine and be like, if they're like, work with this person, like, like that, or don't work with this person, like, that's really about it. So, like,
Okay.
I would like, yeah, it's just all by word of mouth. Or like, if it's like
Where,
from like backstage or something like that, you could tell in the messages if they're like weird, and you could be like, I'm just
mm.
not going to message them anymore.
Where are you based out of? Are you still based in Ohio or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm back in Cincinnati, but I travel a lot for my sketch team. We perform, we submit to like festivals, comedy festivals around the United States. We have a theater residency in New York, so I go to New York often, and I have an agent up in Atlanta, and so I travel a lot for my work when I get gigs. But right, for the most part, I'm based in Ohio.
Oh, okay. Do you have any critiques about Ohio's indie filmmaking scene, or at least anything that you think can be improved on as a community?
I would say no. I mean, personally, I probably need to get out there and network more with these people, which I'm trying to do. I go to women in film events, I go to independent events, and I network and talk and meet people there. I'm doing this. I met you through this. You're a great guy. I love it. I go to
Cheers.
Johnny's film festivals. Cheers. Um, but like, yeah, it's just really me. It's more on me to go out there and work and like meet these people and like I feel like just like anywhere you meet people that be like, yeah, 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 let's do something, and then they ghost you when you reach out to them. Because I always reach out to people. I'm always like, hey, yeah, let's really work because I really want to work. I want to get my stuff out there. I want to make stuff. Again, a day on set is better than a day doing nothing, even if you get hurt. And I just feel like I'm someone that always wants to work, 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 work. Like even if it's free
Right.
work, I prefer if it's paid, but like I want to make stuff. The more stuff you do, the more stuff that's out there, especially if it's good, will build and your reputation will build and you get like out there more. So I think the one critique I would have is, which is everywhere, is when people say they want to do something and they don't.
Right. Yeah. I've experienced that, or especially when you see like ads put on Facebook forums.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you don't know who's flaky and who's not, especially if they're new to the group.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, that like the flakiness and like just people in general, even if you meet them in person, they're like, yeah, 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 let's work together. And then like I'll shoot them a message and then Ghostville. And I can see they saw the message. That's the funny thing. You're like, dude, you didn't even bother trying to not open it. You opened it. That takes balls, I guess, to be like, I'm not gonna
You didn't even
respond to
try
this.
to fake it, like
Yeah.
just try to see the first little line in the above, and then try
Yeah.
to see what was being read.
And
You
just
just opened
delete
it, and
it's on your end. No, you opened it. So that means you probably read it, or at least you opened it enough. And I'm like, you got it out of the way.
yeah, they have the audacity to do that, but not follow through.
I know, right? At least write back that maybe like, nah, I'm too busy. Like, give me the lies. Like, just hold me close and lie to me. I don't care. At least like, it's better than being ghosted, knowing that like you saw my
Hmm.
message.
Hmm. Do you have more? Because you said you need to try to get out more and network. Do you have hermit tendencies because you're a writer? Because I found for myself that I'm kind of I have that same tendency as well, which is why I've been trying to get out more. And also this podcast I started is a great opportunity to try to meet other people. But you still got to get out there. Do you find yourself also having those tendencies?
No, actually, I don't. I feel like I'm a very extroverted person, and like,
Mm,
but my thing is like I've recently like back in the day I didn't know there was like women in film and all this stuff, which is I don't know how new they are, but like that's why I started going to these events. Plus, I came back to Ohio during COVID. I literally got on the last plane out of New York before the city was locked down. So that's
mm,
how like crazy it was during that time. But yeah, for the most part, I usually worked with Joe. And like Joe even was like, look, dude, I love working with you, but maybe you should like branch out a little bit more. And I'm like, I'm trying. So now I'm actually like legitly trying. And like I feel like I could talk
yeah.
to a lot of people in the room, talk to anybody. Like, I feel like I'm friendly. And so I don't have the hermit tendency, no, but like I could see where like at times like maybe I might just be like, man, I just want to stay inside tonight and play Fortnite or go or watch a movie on TV or even go to the
Right.
movies. Like, like I'm a big movie guy. That's how I relax. I like going to like AMC, getting my popcorn as like my little cheat meal with my little like cherry Coke and like watching like a movie in the Dolby. Like
Hmm. What
it's
is it with
relaxing.
cherry Coke and popcorn? It's like you can't have normal Coke. It has to
No,
be
you
cherry
can't.
Coke because I'm the
It
same way
has
too. Like I don't know why. I don't know why
It's because
either.
we're writers. It's because we're writers. It's the writer tendency. We like the cherryness. It just adds more to the flavor. Even when I worked at a movie theater during my undergrad days, I would drink the cherry Coke over the regular Coke and snack on the popcorn from our little machine at
Hmm.
the Regal. So yeah,
Yeah.
it adds
Uh,
it projects the flavor out more.
you've done some producing too, right? Or specifically, is it more specifically for your own projects, or have you done also any producing for a friend of yours?
No, it's mostly just for my own stuff. Like I feel like since I'm going to be in it and I wrote it, I'm producing it. Like that's what I do. I wish like I had the tendency or like the money or whatever to help others and produce their stuff, but I currently
Hmm.
don't at this moment. So I can only make my own stuff. The goal is to one day to be able to like produce other people's stuff, like how Steph Rogen and all of them do. Like when it's like Brad Pitt, he doesn't have to be in it. It's just like, oh hey, I like this script, go make it. I think that would be great.
Mm.
Like just to help people out because I love helping people.
What was the best critique or direction that you got from a director that affected your performance acutely?
Um, don't be wooden. um, I got that
Wooden.
once. Yeah, way back in the day. Like one of the first things I did was don't be wooden, and I'm like, all right, like and I feel like again, it's more about like the more you perform, the less wooden you become and everything like that. Like you don't become like a robot like this or like oh my God, Henry duck, like like that. You become looser. It's again, it's like just more by learning by experience. But I feel like don't be wooden. That sticks with me in my mind all the time. And I've gotten some great like acting teacher notes. Just like I don't remember, but I know they're all up in my like noggin somewhere bouncing around.
Mm. How do you maintain presence on screen when you have no dialogue and not be wooden?
um, I listen. That's what you have to do. Like I listen. I sometimes like there's that trick of like if your hands are like in your like you rub your like fingers together, like you see actors do stuff like that on screen, or like if you have a pin or something, maybe
Mm.
just like fiddle with the pin in your hand off the camera, stuff like that. Just you're focused on that slash like thing you're listening to the other person, and it's more relaxing, and then it's just natural. Or like I did it with this shoot this weekend.
Mm.
They had a close up of me, and my contact was drying out, and I was just kept thinking to myself, "Don't blink too much." And I knew I was blinking too much, but they got in one take, and I said, "Are you guys sure you're good?" He goes, "Yeah, man. It looks like you were like gonna cry, but you were fighting against crying. It was very powerful." Is what like everyone said. And I was like, my contact was
It's like,
like
no, I was
choked
in
up.
pain.
Yeah, I was in real pain. That's why the tears were coming. So sometimes it's just a happy accident.
Mm. Yeah. Um, is there a role that, well, actually, I already asked that. You said you'd rather play a superhero, but I've
Yeah.
never heard of the superhero that you wanted to play.
Booster Gold? Dude, you gotta look him up. He's like a
No, I've
time
never
cop.
heard that.
Dude, look him up. They announced him, and personally, like, I'm gonna be real with you. I sort of heard of him just from like because he was in the cartoons and everything, but I didn't really know who he was. And one of my friends, when James Gunn announced like the DC like you film slate and Booster Gold came out, he goes, "You would be perfect as Booster Gold," and I was like, "Who the hell's that guy?" Like, so I looked him up, and I was like, I want to be him. That's me. Dye my hair blonde. I want to do this, but I need to get myself out there more. I need James Gunn. James Gunn, if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, hey man, I'm your guy right here. If not Booster
Yeah.
Gold, maybe like Captain Levi from Attack on Titan or like Colonel Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist. Come on now. Give me these roles.
Oh,
Those are my dream roles.
I loved Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Dude,
I never saw the
I
original, but
rewatched it.
it's great.
Dude, it tears every time. Every time. Such a good show. I've read the manga. I've seen the anime. Love it.
Yeah. What do you got coming out?
What do I got coming out? Let's see. I just worked on a short about D-Day. I basically played a reporter and being a reporter, you sort of have to be wooden or emotionless. But like, it was a fun time. I did that. I'm
Mm.
working on a short with my friend Henry. It's about the time loop. It's right now. It's called Tempera Fusion. So hopefully that will come out soon. Then I got a flag football short I wrote that I really want to put out there. It's like a mockumentary, sort of like a 30 for 30 mock, like about a flag football team that was they were trying to win 8 consecutive championships, but they lose, and like they're all assholes. And it's just like now it's like 25 years later or whatever from the 80s or whatever the time is, and like they're all older talking back about it, and they're like, man, we don't know what happened to that quarterback that never showed up, that's why we lost this game. And then like it's just they're just a bunch of like dicks, and one guy is like, oh, I could still go pro if I didn't hurt my ankle my senior year in high school, I could have been pro, man. Like, just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really
Reaching
want to
back into
make
that
that one
bag of
soon.
comedy and trying to pull everything out.
Yes, yes, just
Yeah.
stuff like that. Then like
Well,
other than that,
yeah.
it's just like really just auditioning.
Mm. Um, have you learned anything about what casting directors look for when it comes to a good audition?
I wish I could say yes, but I feel like they like everything. Every audition's different. Like it's it's difficult. I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's not tricky. You just got to try to be yourself and be authentic, be in the moment, and be the character. And it just happens. Like you don't know what they're looking for sometimes. Like I've auditioned for movies before when it's like Zac Efron was the lead character, and someone's like, "You look too much like him, so you can't get in it. You're too tall." Like I've been told like people have like turned people down because like they remind them of an ex somehow, or like they're just stupid stuff like that. So it's ridiculous. So like I wish I knew what they were looking for sometimes, but like you can't control everything. Sometimes things just fall into place and it works.
Mm. Well, Jared, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave with the audience?
No, just go out and live your life, guys. Live the dream, whatever that may be. If you want to be a lawyer, go be a lawyer. If you want to act, go act. Be you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.